I want you to picture a scenario that I think is pretty much universally dreaded.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It is Friday night. You have had a really long week. Maybe it was school or maybe work, and all your friends are out.
Right.
They are at the movies or a party or literally doing anything else. But you are sitting at a cluttered desk, and the room is totally quiet.
Just staring at a blinking cursor on a blank white screen.
Exactly.
Staring at the screen.
That is the absolute worst place to be on a Friday night. It is the literal definition of FOMO.
It really is.
Yeah.
But here is the twist. On that desk, sitting right next to your laptop, metaphorically speaking, is a stack of cash.
Okay.
Maybe it is $1,000. Maybe it's $10,000. Maybe it is a check that covers your rent and tuition for the next 4 years.
Wow.
And the only thing standing between you and picking up that money is about 500 to 1,000 words.
You see, when you frame it like that, it sounds like the easiest money you could ever make.
I mean, if you just do the math. Let's say you agonize over that essay for 10 hours. If you win a $5,000 scholarship, you just made $500 an hour.
That is serious money.
That is lawyer money. That is CEO money.
Exactly. The ROI, the return on investment is massive, but logic tends to just fly out the window when you are tired, and the prompt is something incredibly vague, like, describe a challenge you overcame.
It feels like torture at that point. It feels like a barrier rather than an opportunity.
It is the classic bottleneck.
We see this all the time with applicants. As a coach, I see it constantly. They know the money is there and they know they need it. But the friction of actually sitting down and writing the thing is just high enough to make them walk away.
They would rather take out a loan than write the essay.
Exactly.
Well, today we are going to fix that. We are doing a deep dive into how to write a winning scholarship essay by Gen and Kelly Tanabe.
Great source material.
Yeah, they are heavy hitters. They founded Super College, and they have written over a dozen books on admission strategies. And what I really love about their approach is that they stop treating the essay like an English assignment.
Which is such a relief because most applicants are absolutely sick of English assignments by the time they get to this point.
Exactly. The Tanabes treat it more like a strategic psychological operation. They have essentially cracked the code on what the judges, the actual human beings holding the checkbook, are looking for.
And it is rarely what the student actually thinks they're looking for, right?
Almost never.
I am glad you mentioned the psychology part. Yeah. Because looking through their 10 steps, which we are going to break down today, I noticed there is very little advice about where to put a comma or how to use big vocabulary words.
Right, it is not a grammar guide.
It feels much more focused on, let's call it positioning. Like, how do you position yourself as the person who deserves the cash?
Positioning is the perfect word for it. So think of me as your strategy consultant for this deep dive. I'm going to walk us through the Tanabe's framework, specifically these 10 steps to turning a blank page into a check.
And I will play the role of the exhausted skeptical applicant, or maybe the burnout coach who has seen 1,000 bad essays.
Perfect.
Because I see these lists of steps all the time on the internet, and usually they are just fluff like be yourself or write from the heart.
Yeah.
I want to know if there is actually something deeper here that changes the outcome.
Oh, there definitely is. And it starts with step 1, which sounds like one of those throwaway tips, but it is actually where the smartest kids fail immediately.
Okay.
Step 1 is make sure your essay fits the theme.
Okay. I am already skeptical. If the prompt asks me about leadership and I write about a time I was a leader, haven't I fit the theme? How do you even mess that up?
By assuming the theme is just the prompt. It's not.
It's not.
No, the theme is tied to the purpose of the organization giving the money. You have to stop and ask, why does this group exist? Why are they giving away money in the first place?
So if it is a Rotary Club or a tech company or a memorial fund, they all want something different, even if the prompt is exactly the same.
Drastically different. The Tanabes use this specific example that really drives it home.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you are applying for a community service award. The organization's entire existence, their mission statement, is dedicated to helping the community, uplifting the underserved, making the neighborhood better.
Okay, so they want to do gooder.
Right. So the applicant looks at the prompt, which might just be discuss a problem in your community, and they decide to be honest. They write a passionately worded essay complaining about how annoying it is to walk to school because homeless people are blocking the sidewalk and how it is a nuisance to navigate around them.
Oof. I see where this is going.
They might write it beautifully. The grammar could be absolutely perfect. They might use great metaphors about the obstacle course of the city's streets, but what message did they just send to the committee?
That they view the people the organization is trying to help as an annoyance, as a problem to be swept away, not people to be served.
Bingo. You have just proven that your values are diametrically opposed to the people holding the money.
Wow.
It doesn't matter how good the writing is. You are out. You failed the theme because you didn't understand the purpose of the award.
So step one is basically read the About Us page.
It is know your audience. If it is a business scholarship, the theme is likely entrepreneurial spirit and ROI. If it is a memorial scholarship for a kid who died in a drunk driving accident, the theme is responsibility and character.
Yeah.
You have to align your narrative with their goal, not just their question.
That makes a lot of sense. It is an alignment check before you even type the first word. You have to figure out who is reading this and what do they care about.
Precisely. And that mindset shift bleeds right into step 2, which I think is the most insightful concept in the entire guide.
What is step 2?
You have to answer the underlying question.
Wait, I thought we just talked about the prompt. You are saying the prompt isn't the real question.
Rarely. The prompt is just a springboard. It is an excuse to get you talking. The real question is the subtext.
Okay.
The Tanabes use this analogy that made me laugh out loud because it is so accurate to real life. We can call it the Karen analogy.
Please unpack Karen for me.
Imagine your mom comes up to you and asks, so tell me about your new friend Karen.
Okay.
Now, on the surface, what is she asking for?
She is asking for a bio. Karen is from Chicago. She likes indie rock. She is a Capricorn. She plays soccer.
Right. Just facts. But that is not what your mom is asking.
Of course not.
She sees you spending all this time with Karen, and she is looking at Karen's 12 earrings and tattoos, and she is asking,
is she a bad influence?
Exactly. Is she going to get my kid arrested?
That is painfully accurate. Moms are never just asking for a biography.
Exactly. So if you answer with Karen likes knitting, you aren't reassuring your mom. You need to answer the fear. You need to answer the underlying question.
Right.
You need to say, Karen is on the honor roll. She volunteers at the animal shelter, and she drives really safely.
You are addressing the risk.
Yeah.
You are calming the anxiety.
Yes. And that is exactly what a scholarship committee is doing. When a business scholarship asks, why do you want to study business story? They don't want a summary of the business curriculum.
They know what business is. They are the experts.
Right. So what is the underlying question there? What are they afraid of?
I guess the underlying question is, are you going to be a good investment? If we give you $5,000 of our hard-earned money, are you actually going to graduate and do something great?
Or are you going to drop out in a year and waste our money?
That shifts the perspective entirely. You aren't answering a query. You are making a sales pitch. You are mitigating their risk.
Yes. You are competing against people with the exact same grades and the exact same goals.
Right.
The essay is a tool to prove your worthiness to a judge who is looking at a massive pool of applicants. You have to prove you are the safest, highest yield investment.
Okay, so I am in the right headspace now. I know who I am talking to, and I know what they are really asking, are you worth it?
Yes.
But now I am staring at that blank page again. I have got 18 years of life, a resume full of clubs, sports, volunteering, and only 500 words. How do I choose what to say without it turning into a laundry list? Shouldn't I try to squeeze it all in to show how qualified I am?
Absolutely not. That is the resume trap.
Yeah.
And it brings us to step 3, which is share a slice of life.
Slice of life. It sounds a bit like a literary genre.
It is the antidote to the boring list. The expert advice here is very firm, do not summarize.
Okay.
If you try to cram your entire biography into 500 words, you end up with a grocery list.
Yeah.
I was class president, then I played soccer, then I volunteered at the soup kitchen.
Which is boring.
It is boring, and crucially, it doesn't tell the judges anything they can't already see on the application form.
That is a really good point. They literally have the list of your activities right next to the essay. Why waste your precious 500 words repeating what they already know?
Exactly. The essay is for depth, not breadth. Go below the surface. You need to focus on one aspect. By going deep on a single event, you reveal character.
This feels like it connects directly to step 7 on the list, which is build on your accomplishments.
It does perfectly. Step 7 is the practical way to execute step 3. You use the essay to expand on a specific item listed on the application form.
Give me an example of the before and after. How do we turn a dry resume bullet point into a compelling essay?
Okay, let's say your application says Stage Manager, High School Drama Club, 12th grade.
That is just a title. It tells me nothing about how hard you worked.
Right. It could mean you were the boss, or it could mean you sat in the booth playing games on your phone while the actors did the work.
True.
But in the essay, you zoom in. Don't just say you were a stage manager. Tell the story of the Tuesday before opening night when you had to design and build all the sets in a single week.
Oh.
The main backdrop collapsed, and you had 48 hours to redesign the set while keeping 30 panicked teenagers from quitting.
Okay, now I am interested. I can feel the stress in that story. I can see the backdrop falling. That details the significance of the title.
And by telling that specific story, you prove leadership, you prove problem solving, and you prove grace under pressure.
Right.
You don't have to say, I am a leader. The story proves it. That is the difference between a list and a slice of life.
That leads right into step 5, doesn't it? Be specific.
Yes. Step 5 is be specific. General statements kill essays.
Like what?
Things like, education is the key to unlocking the future, or, I want to help mankind.
I have probably written that sentence 5 times. It sounds smart. It sounds noble.
It sounds like filler. Anyone could write that. You want to replace general philosophy with specific memory.
So how do I make something like, I want to be an astronaut, sound unique?
If you want to be an astronaut, don't just say, I have always loved space. That is generic. Talk about the specific moment your father bought you a plastic model rocket for Christmas when you were 5.
Paint a picture.
Describe how it smelled like glue. Describe the sound it made when you launched it.
See, I can smell the glue. That sticks in my brain. I love space, just slides right off.
Specificity creates memory. If the judge remembers your story 3 hours later when they are deciding the winner, you have a massive advantage.
Okay, so we are zooming in. We are telling stories. But let's talk about the tone, because this is where I get confused, and I think a lot of listeners do too.
Let's get into it.
There is this idea, maybe it comes from reality TV, that to win a scholarship, you need a tragedy.
Ah, the sob story.
Exactly. Don't X Factor style sad stories win. Don't I need a tragedy to stand out.
Major trap. You have just walked right into the biggest trap in the book. Step 8 is literally avoid the sob story.
Really? So they don't want to hear about hardship. I thought overcoming adversity was the golden ticket.
There is a massive difference between overcoming adversity and a sob story. The source material is very clear on this. Tear-jerkers work for TV because the intent is just to evoke pity.
Right.
But scholarship committees are not charities in that sense. The message cannot be, I deserve money because I suffered.
It sounds a little cold, doesn't it?
It is not that they don't care. It is that they are investors. They invest in solutions, not just problems.
Yeah.
If your main point is asking for pity, well, pity doesn't get you a check.
So how do you write about hardship? Because a lot of applicants have faced real significant hardship without it being a sob story. How do you strike that balance?
You pivot. This connects directly to step 9, which is show positive energy.
Positive energy in a hardship essay.
Especially in a hardship essay. Even if you are writing about a problem, you must focus on the solution.
Okay.
You have to focus on how you succeeded despite the challenge, not just describing the challenge itself.
The source offers some interesting insight here about who these judges actually are, right?
Yes. Remember, step 1, know your audience. Judges are often older adults, retired teachers, community leaders.
And generally speaking, they do not like cynicism.
Not at all. They want to meet enthusiastic, optimistic young people. Optimism makes them excited to give you money to pursue your passion.
It is about showing you have the resilience to handle life, being the hero of your story, not the victim.
Precisely. And speaking of enthusiasm, this leads us to step 4, show passion in your writing.
This is a tough one to fake.
It is very hard to fake passion. And this gives us my absolute favorite analogy in the whole book. The Tanabes compare a boring, passionless essay to Uncle Larry's hour-long slideshow of his tonsil operation.
Oh no, I can picture the living room. I can picture the slideshow. It is excruciating.
Don't be Uncle Larry. A lot of students try to write what they think sounds academic, but they actually find it boring.
And the reader can tell.
Instantly. If you are bored writing it, the judge is bored reading it. But if you write about something you actually love, that energy transfers to the page.
So it is better to be excited about a small topic than bored by a big topic.
100%. Okay, so we have got the strategy, the content, and the tone. Now we need to talk about the mechanics.
How do we actually polish this thing?
This brings us to step 6, have a thesis statement.
Oh, flashbacks to English 101.
Not exactly. You just need a central point. The Tanabes have a simple test for this, the one-sentence test.
How does it work?
Can you define the point of your essay in a single sentence?
Like an elevator pitch.
Exactly. For example, growing up in the country taught me to be independent. Or treatment of addiction is the only way to win the war on drugs.
Boom. Clear, arguable, focused.
Yeah.
If you can't condense it, your point isn't clear enough.
If you can't do that, you need to rewrite. And once you think you have it, you need step 10, find people to read your essays.
I will play the arrogant writer here. I am a good writer. Do I really need help?
Behind every good writer is an even better editor. Yeah. That is the rule. You are too close to the work. But here is the strategy. You need 2 specific types of editors.
Who are they?
Type 1, those who know you, family and friends.
What are they checking for?
They catch if it sounds like you. They check for your voice.
Okay. And the second type?
Those who don't know you well, teachers, advisors, maybe a friend of a friend.
And their job?
To simulate the judge who knows nothing about you, they catch the confusing parts that your best friend filled in automatically because they know your backstory.
You need the stranger test and the authenticity test.
Exactly. But there is a huge warning attached to this step. Do not let them edit out your voice. It still has to be your essay.
Right. You want feedback on clarity, not a ghostwriter.
So let's quickly recap the shift in mindset here, because we have covered a lot of ground.
It is a totally different approach.
You aren't just answering a prompt. You are proving you are the best investment for that specific organization's money.
Right.
You are answering the underlying question using specific slice-of-life stories and focusing on positive solutions.
It sounds like a lot of work for 500 words.
It is mentally draining. Which brings us back to the Friday night reality we started with.
Writing these essays is exhausting.
It is. The source material reflects on this. Every successful applicant wanted to quit at some point.
That is actually really comforting to hear.
But the difference between the winner and the loser is often just perseverance.
So what here is huge. If you give up, that diploma becomes a lot more expensive.
Exactly. So here is our advice to you. If you're feeling burned out, stop. Take a break. Go watch some meaningless television.
But then get back to the keyboard.
Get back to the keyboard and get that money. This has been our deep dive into scholarship essays. Use these steps, prove your worth, and we will see you next.